Good evening, this is Pine Leaf News, and welcome to LOTRO Players News, where we take a look at the latest news in LOTRO, and here at LOTRO Players. And today, we have with us Draculetta.
Hey, everybody.
Mystery.
Hey there.
Etheros.
Hey.
Ooh, that's really exciting. And Sithrith.
Hello.
I think he's actually more excited than he usually is.
Ooh.
Yeah, technical issues are so thrilling.
Yes, we did not have a live show this week because we had some technical difficulties, and we are officially blaming Andang since he is not here tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Our big story today is that Update 14 is scheduled to be released on July 14th. Is anybody excited for anything in particular coming up in Update 14?
Cosmetics.
Dol Amroth.
So excited.
That's really exciting!
He's so excited for Dol Amroth.
You want to hear me excited? Go watch the preview video. But right now, there's just too many things going wrong.
Alright. Dracula, is there anything you're excited for?
Well, gee, I'm going to have to say Paths of the Dead.
Alright. We have Paths of the Dead, and I will then say the continuation of the epic story with the beginning of Volume 4. We are finally out of Volume 3. We don't have to worry about going where the Ranger... Oh, wait a minute. The Rangers are going through the Paths of the Dead, aren't they?
They've already gone.
Yeah.
Well, we'll be following in their wake instead of traveling with them and watching them cry.
I'm sure we'll find plenty of corpses along the way.
Yes.
Jesus.
But then we'd have to bury them because they're too lazy to bury their own dead. So.
Oh, of course.
Well, of course, there.
They just make giant statues of them.
Giant statues.
Giant creepy statues.
Yeah, creepy statues for your housing cosmetics.
Assuming that is a statue and not some guy just frozen in stone.
Oh, you mean that's actually Candate it's sitting in my bedroom right now?
Watching you.
That's creepy.
It's like a weeping angel. He moves when you're not looking at him.
Right, don't blink. Don't blink.
Don't blink. Very well. In addition to this, the Game Press received a guided tour of Update 14. Now, I did not watch this video because I wanted to avoid spoilers as much as possible. Now, did anyone here watch this and see anything there, or did we all avoid it for spoilers?
I've pretty much been disconnected from all game stuff this week, so I had no idea this existed.
Ah.
I avoided it just because I've already been on Bull Roar, so I felt like there wasn't going to be too much new stuff for me to see in it.
Yeah.
You had the self-tour.
Yeah, I did the self-guided tour with the little audio thing, you know?
Yes. Good evening. Welcome to the self-guided tour. Very well. What about you, Draculetta?
No, I did not watch it because, like Sithrith, I've been on Bull Roar, so I figured it was going to be pretty much the same as what I've already seen.
All right. Then we'll go into store sales. Draculetta, what's on sale this week?
The free sample of the week, 100% Mark acquisition. One of those, use coupon MARX3. MARX3. Once again, you get one Mark acquisition scroll, one per account. 20% off milestone skills, hurried and returning traveler, writing traits. Reading traits are on sale this week. And the simple rally horn. So it's a pretty decent deal other than the rally horn. Please don't spend your turbine points on those.
It's not like LIs, but it's still not very good.
Well, actually, if anyone saw my Runekeeper videos this week, you know that I actually decided to buy the milestone skill and hurried traveler skill for this character because I was going to be bouncing back and forth between Gondaman for my class quest and Goblin Town. So I decided, all right.
If you're not lucky enough to be born a hunter or warden, then you might want one of these.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yes, and that's why I've never bought one before, is because I'm usually a hunter or warden.
Makes sense.
All right. That's it for the game news. I know that's really a whole bunch. So we'll head on to the LOTRO players news. And we'll begin that this week. We are doing, actually for the next 2 weeks, we are doing a giveaway for the Riders of Rohan. That's right. If you still don't have a copy of the Riders of Rohan expansion, you can get it through this. And just watch Andang's video on it, who's going to tell how you can enter. This is going to be done through his YouTube channel, so go over to his YouTube channel, listen to the video, and get the instructions. Essentially is you make a comment, and he picks a name at random, and that means going through a random number generation service. And I have a feeling anyone who's currently on this podcast is not eligible.
What if we just sit here and never say a word? Does that mean that we're not really on the podcast and we can be eligible?
But see, you just ruined it because you just said a word. So see, now you're not
Yeah,
eligible.
so there you go.
Right.
Oh, but there's always next week.
We'll just cut that out in post.
Yeah, we can do that now, so.
That's right. The show isn't live, so we can't edit that, Mist. It depends how much money you pay me, though.
Oh,
Right.
Drac. Come on.
I have a feeling that you will not be, due to your leading the way for the fellowship walk, at least spiritually. I have a feeling Lily Kate did most of the literal leading during the actual walk last year.
Yes, due to moving, being sick, yeah. But, what's that got to do with the price of eggs in winter?
All right. I'm not going to ask about that. We will instead go on to the LOTRO video highlights, which is the Shadow of Angmar launch event. I know that's going way back into April 2007, where they, of course, actually had a launch party back when they were in stores. Originally, I know. Yes, that's right. You used to have to go to a store and purchase a box copy in order to get Lord of the Rings online.
What is this craziness that you speak of?
I know, that was in the days before downloadable content. So therefore, they have various interviews of the people who are standing outside the store waiting for their turn to rush inside and buy their copy when they open the stores at midnight.
And you know what kind of impressed me about this video is there was actually a line. So it was like what you see for like when, you know, like a big title like a Halo or something like that is released. I mean, this was like a big deal launch party.
All right. Well, it was a new game at the time. So that was the launch party. And now we'll go on to Lily Kate's Creatures. And this time she had Paltine the Shrew. And when I say a shrew, I mean a really, really, really big shrew. I mean, this shrew is bigger than Lily Kate. Well, she's a hobbit, so that's not saying much. And
It was a very big shrew.
yeah, it's very big shrew. It looks like, and it looks like an entire kin band was dancing around it. So they had quite a party there around the shrew, and they all had these smaller shrews all around them, dancing with them. So you could see this series with Lily Kate and Lily Kate's latest Lily Kate's Creatures.
It's a shrew cult.
Yeah, a shrew cult, that's it.
A shrew cult.
Very well. We also had LOTRO Players Adventures episode 21, Into the Dungeon. And in this case, the dungeon was Heligrod, In fact, we went into 2 different wings of the Heligrod. We went into the giant wing, then we went into the Drake wing.
And then we went into a completely different dungeon.
Yes, Andang then decided that wasn't enough to do 2 complete wings of Heligrod. We had to also go into the Icy Crevasse.
And then there's the different form of dungeon, if you remember.
Yes, we kept bringing up death
Things.
a lot.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
You and your love for XP from killing Drakelings.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I was hoping that we'd forget about that.
I guess you hoped wrong.
Yes. I thought
At least we know what weapon he uses now.
Forget.
Oh, yeah.
Crossbow of Justice.
Right. So we cleared out Heligrod, so everything was nice and fine. So therefore, all we need to do now is to dress up in something wonderful. And what's our wardrobe for the week, Citra?
Good transition, Pineleaf. Well, the outfit for this week I actually forgot to post until like an hour ago, so apologies for that, but it doesn't matter because we're not even doing this live. So my outfit for this week is a Stelden Guard. Someone on Twitter requested that I do a kind of guard ranger type outfit. So that's what this is. It's kind of got a bit heavier of a ranger look, so there's some chainmail tossed in there along with the leather, and yeah, it's kind of basically, you know, the guys that stand at either end of a Stelden making sure orcs and stuff don't find their secret hideout. One of those
Because it's
guys.
hidden.
Because it's
super secret.
Yes, it's a super secret location.
Yeah, so that's the outfit for this week. Lots of green and, I think as Zinger pointed out in the comments for that outfit, no steel blue. And yes.
It's a very nice
first.
chess piece. I use that one a lot, actually.
Yeah, I do love that chess piece a lot. I try really hard not to use it too much because it's so nice and I don't want to get tired of it, but it's hard not to because it's got the nice kind of like leather, tunic kind of thing over.
Layers to it, yeah.
Yeah, it's got nice layers. It's chainmail and leather and nice buckles and straps and stuff. It looks I think it looks more realistic than a lot of the armor we see in game. That's what I like about it.
Most of the Isengard stuff really is like that.
Yeah, it's like all the Dunland quest reward armor is just amazing. And it's hard not to use at least one piece from Dunland in outfits now.
Mm.
All right. Next we have Zinger, who decided to make a post on Fun Places, Fun Loot, Wildermore. Talking about all the wonderful things that you can get there. And that is, looks like he used out of the frying pan into the ice box because Wildermore, of course, is one big ice box. All right. Anyone have any comments about this?
I'm sorry, my head's gone.
Your head's gone.
I've just been thrown off too much by the problems we've had this week.
All right. Well, anyway, that was there. We're showing various locations in Wildermore. We'll head on then. So, next we have a little piece of music here, a music video, Under the Mountain, Dark and Tall, a piece that was put out by the Lonely Mountain Band. This is, of course, the poem that is sung at the beginning when the dwarves are all singing at the beginning, talking about the story of what's going on, Smaug and all that, and of course that they want to go out and get their treasure back. Now this particular item, I don't know about you, but I'm used to hearing this at a lower pitch. What about you guys?
Yeah. That really kind of threw me off when I listened to this because I thought the same thing. I'm like, this song is usually slower than this. I mean, I liked it. Don't get me wrong, but it was just different. took a while to get used to.
Felt like a jolly tune.
Yeah, it was definitely a very different kind of take than I expected. I actually watched it a second time with the audio muted, and I liked the video better that way. Just because I'm so used to hearing it slow paced. And the cinematography of this video though is really amazing. So like even if you don't like the higher kind of more, I guess, jolly, like you saying is kind of almost jolly. If you don't like that, like if you just think of the poem or read the poem out loud to yourself while looking at the video, it's amazing. If you know the way they're doing it isn't your thing. But yeah, their editing and cinematography is really amazing. They do a really good job of representing different things, even though we don't obviously have some of the set pieces that are required for the poem.
Right, since some of this, yes, I could imagine, because the only place where we have the Lonely Mountain is in a raid.
Yeah, they do a good job of, you can see Dale, they use the Dale from the instances, but they use Drakes in the North Downs, it looks like, for Smaug, I think. So that's pretty clever.
Yeah.
Right, because it is hard to find large dragons. In fact, the only two that I can think of in the game are, one of them is an undead dragon, and the other one bugs out all the time.
I think they used the one from Angmar in the video, I'm not sure though.
There's a Drake from Angmar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, you're right. I always think of that Drake as being in the North Downs because you go
It's sort of like
to that
between
Drake.
them, yeah, round Duaf.
Yeah, it's like that. Yeah. That weird like area that's just drakes and worms, kind of. Between them.
You barely go into Angmar when you get to that location.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Our poll for this week was: would you pay for a new hobby?
Nope.
I would, depending on the hobby.
I just not too fast on this, that sort of activity, like a casual do it whenever you feel like it kind of thing. I'm just not that fast for it that I would actually spend money. Turbine points, maybe, but not money.
Yeah, I agree. I would do turbine points, maybe, depending on the hobby, but I don't think I would actually pay for it.
Yeah, we don't know exactly what they meant by pay. I would presume by
Yeah.
pay they meant turbine points.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't specify like money or turbine points. It just, would you pay for a new hobby? I assume it would be turbine points because that's how
in that
most things work.
sense, I suppose I would, maybe, but I think it would depend on the price and what the activity is.
And I think the only thing I could see them doing that would be worth buying would be golf. If they could pull
one, yeah.
golf out, which of course has been rumored for eons now, but which I don't
as long
think
as there's been fishing.
Exactly. I don't think we'll ever actually see it, but I just think that would be just amazingly fun.
Mm-hmm. I would just love to see them expand the hobby system. I know they probably won't because time and money and resources and all that, but I wish they would because
There's only one way.
it's there.
There's only one way I see them ever expanding the hobby system, and that is if there was some sort of hobby that a dev really wanted and decided to spend his free time doing it.
Yeah, pretty much.
It would be nice for the hobbies tab to not lie.
Yeah. I think it would be cool if they somehow like worked like the music system and the cosmetic system into the hobby system. Because we already have those systems and it makes sense to have them as hobbies because they basically are hobbies for players in game anyway.
Pretty much are. Maybe working
So
some sort of achievement type system into it or deeds.
Yeah, like how with fishing, it's like if you catch this many fish, you get a title. So like if you use X amount of a certain kind of dye, maybe you get like, if you use like 100 red dyes, you can get the title The Red or something. Although I think that title is in the game already.
Titles for playing music of some kind.
Yeah.
It would be.
You would think.
And if anyone would know about it, it would be the Lonely Mountain Band. So since no one there has ever posted about there being one, I guess we must assume there isn't. All right. Next, Andang has decided to make available some T-shirts. Yes, you can get various T-shirts that are concerning our LOTRO Players site, including a T-shirt for There's an Orc on My Fork, Skirmish Responsibly, The Braxwood, Out to Lunch, and several others.
I believe these
Apparently
will also
lots
be
of
on
people.
aprons.
Yes,
they do. There's some of them are on aprons. The ones that are related to eating, such as Out to Lunch and There's an Orc on My Fork.
Mm-hmm.
While things like Braxwood and Skirmish Responsibly are not available on aprons.
But
I'm waiting for Sabertooths.
For saber, I don't believe there's a Sabertooth one.
No,
but he was talking about Sabertooth T-shirts, possibly.
depending on the context, I might support that. But I think Brax will be disappointed that there's no underway.
Yeah.
I think we could leave that be. We will then head into the outside, beyond LOTRO news, and we'll begin with Sithrit. What is this about real life LOTRO?
Well, my last real life LOTRO post was 2 weeks ago, I think. Yeah, 2 weeks ago. And that one was showing pictures of Hobbiton from July 2010, and construction had just kind of started working on the Hobbiton set. And then I went back in November 2010, which obviously was further along in construction, and I took more pictures, and so I posted them. And you can definitely see the hobbit holes. There's a lot more finished hobbit holes. They have a lot more detailing done on them. They've started planting gardens, and they've got like a little greenhouse set up where they're tending plants before they plant them near the hobbit holes. And it just looks really cool to see the differences between this post and my last real life LOTRO post from just a few months prior. And yeah, it's really pretty cool, I think. At that point in time, they were just about to start filming. I think they started filming in January, so yeah, just a few months away at that point.
Right. And Andang looks like he had decided to create a Gondor trailer using Minecraft. Now, where's this? This is now who did this Minecraft video?
I can talk about this a little bit if you want.
Okay.
Because so there's this project, in Minecraft that's been going on for a few years now called Minecraft Middle Earth. And, basically their goal is to recreate Middle Earth in Minecraft. And I've been on their server before. They had just finished Moria when I was on it. So they've obviously come a long, long way if they're already in Gondor. And they are super detailed, and it's amazing the detail that they've been able to use with just blocks. Because as you know, Minecraft is all just blocks, just cubes. So, yeah, this trailer shows their recreation of Gondor, and specifically Minas Tirith, and it is amazing. It's especially good because there's been some updates in recent years to Minecraft that have created some white, like marble-like blocks, so that's obviously very nice for Minas Tirith. So yeah, I definitely recommend watching it, even if you don't play Minecraft or know anything about it. It's really cool to see all the work that they've done to recreate Gondor and Minas Tirith. It's huge, it's massive, so it's really cool looking. And with Minecraft, you can do some really cool cinematic stuff with different mods, and being able to fly around is also very helpful for filming.
All right. Finally, Minute Physics this week answered the question, how far can Legolas see? And of course, the entire point of this is that Legolas is describing as being able to distinguish the leader of the riders, Eomer, from, 7 leagues or some ridiculous distance like that. And Minute Physics was going through what are the laws of physics on this, and how far could someone see if they had perfect eyesight, what would they see at that distance? and taking into account things like diffraction and other physical matters like this. And should I leave that to your discretion, or do you think I should reveal what the answer is?
Tell us.
All right.
If people don't want to know, they can pause it.
Okay, very well. Spoiler alert then. They made the conclusion then that due to diffraction and the wave sizes and the like, it would be impossible for anyone to be able to see someone from that distance away and be able to distinguish the lead writer from the rest of the writers. The best resolution anyone could possibly have at that distance was about a meter. So therefore you would not be able to just, everything will just look like little blurry writers coming towards you.
Elves are magical.
Yeah,
Well,
magic. There's no
yes,
physics here.
Magic.
Well, yes, well, anyway, that came from Minute Physics, and so obviously when I saw that pop up in my subscription box, I had a look at that particular item. So therefore, we do not have a question this week, since we are in our rather unusual conditions. Instead, we'll head right into donations. Let's have a big thanks to Michael for a $10 or more donation to LOTRO Players, and also a big thanks to David for a $5 or more donation to LOTRO Players. If you want to help LOTRO Players, simply go to the donations page where you can help support the podcast on LOTRO Players and also help support the site. We have $5 and $10 mentions where you can donate and get a mention on one or all of our active podcasts for an episode depending on the amount. For $5, you get a mention on the podcast of your choice. For $10 or more, you get a mention on all of our current active podcasts. This week, we did not receive any reviews, but we do have a few comments here. And we'll begin with Fredo Les, who left a comment on the On Par with Radiance article. I think it's a mistake of Turbine not to consider LOTRO as a connected ecosystem of players. While it may seem cost-effective to focus only on activities the largest segments of the community participate in, alienating the smaller segments will eventually affect us all. For example, I believe the lack of attention to group content and PvP will led directly to the low quality of the class trait and skill changes introduced in Helm's Deep. Without considering situations where using these skills really matters, the resulting implementation was hasty and not nearly as good as it should have been. This may not seem to have much practical effect on players just leveling up, or even participating in epic battles, where the precise choice and balance of class traits and skills has less of an impact. But players of all types still notice the decline in quality. Group combat in PvE and PvP will also considered by many the hallmarks of a real MMORPG, regardless of how many players actually participate in them. When Turbine ignores these types of gameplay, I get the sense that potential future players and even the media regard LOTRO as nothing more than a novelty. It's no longer worthy of serious consideration, except perhaps by a few diehard LOTRO fans. I'm not implying that raiders and PvMPers behave like sharks, but if you removed all the apex predators from the ocean, the entire ecosystem will gradually collapse.
The mind of Fredolus is an amazing place.
And bewildering.
All right. Anyone have any other comments on this before we go to the next letter?
Nope, they summed it up.
Very well. Threrin also left a comment in an article, and he says, I'm just wondering how Epic Battles fits into this.
They don't.
Oh, they do.
Does this mean that those who will be only solo duo from now on? So far, I guess they haven't been received that well. Is it true that Turbine is put further developing work into those, or are they just doomed as everything else instance-wise? Well, as for...
No, I don't think they're making Epic Battle solo duo only. When they're talking about group content, they're not talking about group content as a whole. They're specifically only talking about not doing raids and instance clusters, which does not include skirmishes, epic battles, zone
There's a fellowship
content.
area coming in like this next update.
Right. People seem to incorrectly correlate group content as a whole with raids and instance clusters. They're only talking about raids and instance clusters.
Yeah.
Right. That is specifically what they were talking about concerning that matter. Any other type of group content is still available. And in fact, from what I've heard, Update 14 would be the first time where they're actually going to give you a choice between a solo version and a group version of an epic story instance. So,
and there's even going to be reward chests at the end of them.
Right.
Yeah.
So therefore, they are including group content. It is just that the classic raid, which is you get 12 people together and go into a dungeon and essentially go to, multi-bosses or whatever. That stuff is the stuff that is going to be out. There may be, and that is definitely, I would say, not going to be for a while. And it could be that maybe someday there will be a single, something like the Turtle or something like that, because that's a much smaller scale. But anything that requires huge amounts of design, because getting it right, I don't know, has there ever been a raid that Turbine got right the first shot?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Like even skirmishes all had bugs.
Honestly, I doubt there's a raid that anyone got right the first time.
Well,
yeah, it's
got a point
hard
there.
to not have bugs.
You're right. It's not only Turbine that would have trouble with doing raids right the first time. I haven't gone into WoW to see how often they get their raids right the first time or whatever, but yes, I'm sure they always have their
how large and complex they are, yeah.
Yeah, the larger and complex the instance, and raids, by definition, are larger and more complex than any other instances.
On the mention of, is it worth it to put more development into those, they're kind of in a no-win situation in that if they keep working on them, people who don't like them are probably not going to like them anymore because they've experienced they know what they like, the core of them at least, and they don't like it, and that's it. Whereas, and then if they don't, they're going to get into the same situation of LIs and hobbies and all other stuff they've done and then put by the wayside because they moved on to something else. So pretty much no matter what they do with them, they're going to get flack for it.
Right.
I don't know, personally, if it's worth working on Epic Battles more. I enjoy them myself, but I know a lot of people don't. So I suppose it's just worth them whether they think they can get them in a state that people will be persuaded to like them.
They have already said that there probably will be a new one coming, not in this update, but in update 15.
Yeah,
that's
their
Epic
Pelargir Siege one.
Yeah, an Epic
You're
Battle.
talking about Epic Battles there, yes. They are planning on one in Pelargir for update 15.
Yeah, and I think, the thing is also to remember is they specifically said in, I don't know if it was the developer thing or some Shield Q&A, there's so many streams and live things now, it's hard to keep track of what was said, but in one of them they specifically said that they aren't making raids and instances anymore, not because of how few players play them, although it is true that apparently a single-digit percentage of players use those instances, but rather the reason they aren't anymore is because of the huge amount of resources that raids require, I think, or maybe it's the other way around. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it's that they take so much resources.
Yeah. And it's funny because for the longest time, their stance on it was that Epic Battles were not to replace them, but to be another tool in the toolbox for whatever they were making that fit the purpose of the story or whatever they were trying to tell with it.
Well, I don't think they feel that raid and instance clusters fit into the story at the current time.
They usually don't.
Yeah.
Because the story
Yeah.
isn't a bit large impact or a large part of them.
Right. In
Right.
fact, the last one where it really fit in would have been in Isengard because, all right, you had this big, huge stronghold of the enemy there, so you could see a raid cluster there. But in Rohan, they decided, all right, we'll send you to Dale for the raid.
Because there's nowhere really in Rohan that has like an enemy fortress in it or anything like that.
Right, because the enemy fortress was Isengard, and of course, we had
We've
that.
already been there.
Yeah, we've already been there. Yes. Instead, the enemy are just plowing all over the place and in the fields, which is why we had the war bands as the content for handling on the enemies and going all over the place. So yeah, they pick up one or two places, but no place where I think would justify a raid that I could think of. With
Okay,
that,
so I just looked it up. Sorry, just before we go, because I want to make sure everything is squared away. I misspoke, and it's actually, Sapien said he went on the Eldar shield run. He wants to be very clear. The time-consumingness of building raids is not the reason they're doing them. It's the other way around. It's because few players play them. So, my bad.
Which is apparently how it's always been.
Right, that's the thing. Their data says that for as long as LOTRO has been in existence, very small percentage of players have been using raids and instances.
Which I think is the point of Callie's article is, if this has always been the case, why were they always making these huge instance clusters and raids if only so few people used them?
it was expected.
It's what
Yeah, I
everyone
can
else
see, like,
was doing, I guess.
Because every other MMO has huge raids and instance clusters. That's what people expect from MMOs to be doing.
In fact, that's what Fredless article says, is, right, this is what people are expecting.
Is it right for people to expect that, though? Is it a different question?
Well, that's another matter.
Right. Well, I mean, I think it
should Turbine
kind
be
of
doing
goes
these
to-
things just because it's what everyone else does?
Right. I think it kind of goes to then what do people, like, how do you define an MMO besides just lots of people playing the same game all at once? Because I feel like a lot of people define an MMO by a game where you can do these big raids and stuff.
For me, I don't really think about it any more than what you just said, really. A game that other people play in one place, really.
Mm-hmm.
I think going any further than that, it's just sort of too subjective.
All right. So then we should call LOTRO an LMO instead, a large multiplayer. All right. We didn't have any emails this week, but if you wish to email us, you can contact us at lotraplayers.mymiddleearth@gmail.com, and you can also follow us at Twitter, LOTRaplayers at LOTRaplayers, Andang at PVNP_Andang, Braxwolf at Braxwolf, Sithrith at Sithrith, Draculetta at Draculetta_72, Etheros at Etheros, Lillicate at Lillicate Buggins, Mystery at Mystery XOX, and Pineleaf at Pineleaf Needles. You could join us live. LOTRO Players Adventures goes live each Saturday at 5 p.m. server time. No, we did not do that this week due to it being shown on Thursday instead, but normally it is 5 p.m. server time on Saturdays, and LOTRO Players News goes live every Saturday at 8:30 p.m. server time, unless, of course, we have technical difficulties like we had today. You could join us and going to lotraplayers.com/live, and be sure to join us in the YouTube chat. Thank you for watching, and that's all for tonight. So until next time, this is Pineleaf Needles, reminding you to skirmish responsibly.
Hey Lemomet friends, Andang here, just wanting to real quick say thanks to Athelros, Pineleaf, Draculetta, Sithrith, Mystery, and even though he wasn't there, Braxwolf, for helping with this episode this week when I was out of town. There were last minute change of plans that caused me to be unable to do the episode this week, and so we were able to reschedule adventures. We thought we were able to do news live, but it turned out that there were crazy internet issues, some of which were completely out of our control, that happened, and so I apologize for that, and the quick change of plans for the live viewers. But and then there's one other thing that I wanted to touch on, which is the Game Press gets LOTRO Update 14 guided tour. basically, MMO Reporter was very nice sharing this with us and actually tipping us off that they were going to be releasing this. And so we were one of the first, if not the first, to report on it outside of them. So a big thanks to them for giving us that tip. And one of the big things that they revealed was the title of Volume 4, which is The Strength of Sauron. Now, I think this title is kind of weird for a few reasons. One, I would have thought that Volume 4 would have been the final book, or final volume rather, that we would have in the LOTRO epic story. But it says The Strength of Sauron. So it'd be kind of weird if at the end of the book Sauron was defeated. Because then, if it was called The Strength of Sauron, wouldn't that be kind of weird if at the end of the book that's titled The Strength of some enemy that it's actually defeated? That's just my 2 cents. I don't expect them to defeat Sauron at the end of this book, so does that mean that there's going to be a Volume 5 of LOTRO? How much content does that mean we're going to get? I think it's kind of an interesting thing. Now, I could be reading way too much into this, which is probably most true, but it just seems kind of weird. The Strength of Sauron. It seems like that is the sort of thing that would be, a building up book, and then they'd have something like The Fall of Sauron coming out with Volume 5 or something like that. So, I mean, what do you guys think? Leave comments in this video or on the podcast feed on LOTROplayers.com, or send us an email, LOTROplayers.mymiddleearth@gmail.com, letting us know, do you think there's going to be a Volume 5, or do you think that it's all going to end in Volume 4, and the Strength of Sauron will actually be defeated, and that will happen? But, I mean, it just seems kind of like a strange title, The Strength of Sauron. But I guess Shadows of Angmar is a strange title too. But anyway, another thing that they cover in this, there's a lot of content actually in this guided press tour. Normally, especially the last few times, the press hadn't been getting that much information, but there's actually a lot of information and little tidbits that aren't all worth talking about here. But if you're interested in the epic story and things that happen there, I recommend taking a look at this guided press tour, particularly the second half. One big thing, though, was that there's going to be a 6-man fellowship area in Dol Amroth, and then also there's actually going to be the possibility for basically group content in the epic story, the choice between solo and group. And, this has kind of been talked about a little bit, but they really focus on it and talk about how if this goes well, they're planning to continue to make this be an offer. And so I think that this is a nice way for them to create group content that doesn't take a lot of work to create, but still allows players to get together and group up and have a lot of fun in LOTRO. But anyway, that's kind of the news that happened through the guided press tour. Sadly, there was no one on the podcast this week that had been heavily involved in making that happen. But anyway, hopefully that answers some of your questions about that article. And yeah, once again, what do you guys think? The Strength of Sauron, will we get a Volume 5? Will it be about Sauron's fall? Let us know. But anyway, till then, thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you again next week for hopefully a little bit more regular episode, because I think that we're all in need of some regularity being restored to our lives. But anyway, thank you guys again, and we'll see you next week.